Good Friday morning of the second week of Advent. This is a really short text. This is chapter 48 of Isaiah. So it's the same theme. I'm afraid I hope I'm not boring you to death with these. Just my reflections and so on. Not a sermon, just the thoughts as I sit in the chair here. Lily's on the couch snoring. If you can hear any snoring, it isn't anybody else but Lil. Okay, boy, can she snore. Holy cow, she's loud. Good thing she's single. She had a dog boyfriend, partner, they would get divorced, annulled. Her snoring would be an annullable offense. Anyway, she said, I'm pretty and I like to snore. Anyway, I'm wasting your time right now. Thus says the Lord, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I, the Lord your God, teach you what is for your good and lead you on the way you should go. That's the image, isn't it? That's Moses. He's the new Moses, you see. If you would hearken to my commandments, your prosperity would be like a river, and your vindication like the waves of the sea. They're relentless. You got to know that. I'll tell you in a second. Your descendants would be like the sand, and those born of your stock like its grains. Can you imagine? It's infinite. Their name never cut off or blotted out from my presence. Eternity, you see. But that image, if you hearken to my commandments, your prosperity should be like a river. See? You ever see a river? You all have. It's flowing and it's full of life. It's teeming with life, but it's constantly in motion. Unlike a lake, a river is moving with great velocity, isn't it? Take a boat on it and see the difference between putting your boat in on a river and put your boat in on a lake. It's a tremendous difference. I was trying to think, the ocean is that way as well. You have to respect the river and the ocean. And then you have to respect the lake, obviously. But there is a difference. You're not fighting the currents. When you're on a river or on the ocean, tides and currents are fiercely important. You miscalculate them, you're going to get hurt. If you're lucky, that's all. You get what I'm saying? Well, a lake can be that way too. It can be treacherous. It can be shallow where you expect it to be deep. You could be cut out in the open when a windstorm or a storm comes in. Yeah, I told you that story so many times. See, your prosperity, but he said your prosperity would be like a river. It's constantly full of life. It's also dangerous, but it's full of life. It's exciting, full of life. Your prosperity, your inheritance, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. It's an adventure in existence itself, teeming with life. Rivers are alive, whatever else is true, okay? And then he says, your vindication, like the waves of the ocean, the waves of the sea. The waves are steady and consistent. Your vindication, if you wanted to put it another way, is the fidelity of God. It's like the waves of the ocean. They are constant. They're rhythmically constant. And I mentioned this the other day. There is a sound to them as they reach the shore. Each one has either a ripple sound or it could be crashing sound, depending on the intensity of the waves. And you learn how to see them and hear them. That's the beautiful image. Your vindication will be like the waves of the sea. Constant vindication, full of life. The river full of life. You could say the vindication of the ocean is its fidelity. The fidelity of your vindication, waves of the ocean, constant. The fidelity of God. Giving life, that's the river. And justification, vindication, that's the ocean. That's the waves of the sea. Yeah. And then he says, your descendants, he follows up on it. Your descendants will be like the sand, and those born of your stock like its grain. Can you imagine? The sand. Think about it. Think about that imagery. Have you ever been on a beach? To say there's a trillion grains of sand is probably an understatement, okay? It's massive, okay? And it's alive. The sand, if you see it, it still teems with life. It's just subtler. Especially that on ocean where there's salt water because it can't live. It can and it can't, all right? You're not going to see flowers in that sand, but you will see life. You will see life. It teems with life. Yeah, anybody who grows up on the ocean knows that the seashore is teeming with life, okay? Yeah. And of course, so is the water. Holy cow. What a great image of life is the ocean or the sea and the shore. I don't think you can ever get that out of your system, by the way. If you ever grow up on the ocean, now I've been on the ocean and then I've been on the Great Lakes. Great Lakes come close, but not close enough. The ocean teems with a form of life that is irreparable, unrepeatable. You can't replicate it. That's the word I want. It's vast, it's beautiful, it's rhythmic, and it teems with life. And it's a healing water in another kind of way. You can't drink it, but salt water heals because of the salt in it. On the other hand, you can't drink it, but you can eat the fish that came from it. Okay? It still teems with life. I don't know. I don't want to beat this thing to death, okay? But I see it. And then the eternity, your name will never get cut off or blotted out from my presence. You'll never be forgotten. I think as old folks now, and I'm as old as probably anybody listening to these things or watching them, I'm so conscious of the finitude of my life that I'm most likely in the last decade of my life. Do I think I'm going to live to be in my 90s? Not really. I feel healthy as a horse, but that doesn't mean anything. You know it, and I know it, okay? But I think the greater fear is not death. It's to be forgotten. Is to be of no account. To have meant whatever meaning we have would be evaporated by time. One philosopher described time as perpetual perishing. It's a powerful line. So you say, well, you live on in your children. Yeah, you do, and your grandchildren, maybe your great-grandchildren, then you'll be forgotten. Even if you're a billionaire and you're handing on your money, they won't care. They'll care about the money. They won't know who great-great-great-grandfather Joe Blow the Rag Picker is. No, they won't. And if you're a famous writer, you'll be remembered in the writing or in the art. But you, personally, will they remember you? Maybe. I doubt it. Your artwork will last. That's about it. You got the best shot of immortality in terms of natural immortality in your art. But you aren't. Your art is. See, as a Christian, we hope in that last line, our names will not be forgotten because who we are is our name. And it's just not a name. We are our name, that God will not forget us. And then in remembering us, we live in him and personally in him. See, the difference between a name and a title is the name is you. So meaning we will not be blotted out. We will all be in the presence of God. By God remembering us, as it were, we live forevermore, personally, not as a remembrance, not as a chapter of a book, personally, with each other in paradise. You got to be old for that one, I think. You got to see how important that is. Now, I don't think about heaven as being in the clouds. I think of being with my family. I told you that already 100 times. Being with those I have loved and been loved by. Walking on the beach together. See? Or on the trail. Something. Whatever is you, me, us, whatever. But now eternally. Always forevermore. Now in an intimate communion of companionship and walking. See, isn't that neat? That's a great image, isn't it? Being together. Forevermore. Not to be forgotten, but to be vitally alive. And remembered, not remembered, seen. And together, not remembered, seen. And loving forever. In person. Together. Isn't that a neat concept? God's remembrance makes everything present, and present full of life. That's what you and I will be, forever together, living forevermore together.